Artistry and Finesse with you on a Wednesday night, a long stretch between playoff games, Finesse. We've got to do something to fill the gap.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. I mean, we're going into a series where it's one of the most anticipated matchups in recent Penguins playoff history. And it's like totally sucking the life out of it that we're going to have to wait 8 days until they start. Like the Western matchup is going to be set in about 25 minutes, yet somehow we have to wait until Saturday to play this first game. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's really frustrating, but as you pointed out, the NBA has the same sort of ridiculous long stretches between series, and I'm guessing that's just because, you know, basketball and hockey, they're similar venues, and I guess you got a lot of events, but it's just so frustrating.
Right. Well, it just kills me when sports sabotage their own momentum. Is there anything more anticlimactic than the college football bowl championship game that's like 7 weeks after the end of the regular season? This is the equivalent of that. I mean, 8 days off between the second round and the conference finals.
Yeah, Little Artistry just showed up. He's decided that he wants to watch hockey. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I think what we just witnessed, it's good we're archiving this. This is like his coming of age as a hockey fan.
Yeah, it's true. He finished his first full year of preschool today. We're very proud of him. He's not going to sleep, which is an issue.
If you don't mind me asking, how did he do grades-wise?
How did you do? Did you have grades? What did your teachers do well this year? Yeah, we're very proud of you. He's got a lot of spirit. He's got a lot of spunk, Little Artistry. It's time for bed, buddy. Okay? Yeah. Daddy's got to do a podcast. I know you haven't watched the hockey game in a while, but the Penguins have a long, long break. That's what we're talking about right now. It's not fair. Nobody likes it. It's a full week between series. Some things are difficult to explain and difficult to understand, even when you get older. But I think you need to go to bed. Can you do that for me?
Little Artistry's grown. He's grown like 3 inches since second round ended.
I know. They sprout up quickly. Do you want to sit here? You can sit here for 2 minutes while Daddy does this podcast, and then I want you to march upstairs, okay? Deal? All right.
So
as you were saying.
The schedule. Let's just talk about the schedule then. Does the break favor anybody? Does it hurt anybody? On the ice, are we happy about it? Are we upset about it?
Well, I think the one obvious pro, Kunitz, is hurt. He sat out practice today. He sat out for long stretches of the last couple of games. Of course, we have no idea what's wrong with him, if it's a recurrence of his abdominal issue or something entirely unrelated. We don't know, but you have to think it's good that he gets to rest a little bit. And
he's a vital part of how we could possibly beat the Bruins. His forechecking is what neutralizes someone like Chara. He's one of the quickest guys in the league to get on the first defenseman when he's healthy. So when Chara goes back there to get the puck and Kunitz is on him, and yeah, he's not hitting him that hard, but he's like hitting him sort of in the hands where he's trying to move the puck. And then that's how you get zone time on the Bruins. And zone time is going to be probably the difference in the series.
Yeah, the Penguins are a nightmare matchup for Chara. You just have to go back and read any of the posts that we've ever done when the Penguins have played the Bruins, and there's always a similar theme. It's about James Neal and Kunitz and Matt Cook and Craig Adams wearing down the Bruins' defense and chopping down Chara in particular. And you can see it's quite visible over the course of a game how the Penguins are able to wear him down. I think it's a terrible matchup for the Bruins in that regard.
Well, I think so too. And I think like as much as sort of the Penguins were exposed a little bit by the Islanders, the same could be said of the Bruins in Toronto. I mean, they should have lost that series.
Absolutely.
By merit, they basically did lose the series, save for some miracle comeback that happens one time out of a million. So that's like, I think that the Penguins are slower than Toronto, but we're a lot faster than the Rangers. I mean, the Rangers are a joke. And so was Ottawa. So, you don't take too much away from the Ottawa series either. But I don't put much stock into what the Bruins did beating the Rangers in 5 games. And I think that the speed that Crosby, Dupuis, Kunitz brings, assuming that they're all healthy, and then the speed that Malkin brings, Iginla's a little slower. Neal is a little gimpy still with the ankle injury. But Malkin's a different player than anybody they've seen on the Rangers. So, like, whatever aura Boston has sort of regained from the last series, I think we could kind of get through that pretty quickly.
I agree with you. I think it's a really good matchup for the Penguins. The scariest thing about the Bruins is they come at you in waves of forward lines, and they have big forwards that can pound our defense. But that doesn't even scare me that much. The worst matchup for the Penguins is an Islanders team or a Maple Leafs team that is just faster than us. The Bruins being big and tough is not something that's going to tilt the scales in this series in the way that it might have a couple years ago.
No, it's not like toughness that really worries me. I guess I am more worried about their offense than their defense. But the other factor is like the discipline factor. The Bruins are – it's not like toughness in the sense that you're afraid of them, but they could get under your skin. Like, they're a very pesky team. They can frustrate you. They got guys like Marchand who are, as good of a pest as there is in the league, who's also a really good player. And then good defensive players. So if the Penguins can maintain their discipline, goals are not going to come as easily as they did against Ottawa. So it's a matter of like fighting through the times when it's frustrating, because I don't think Boston's going to stop the Penguins from scoring a lot of goals.
I agree with that. And it's interesting. I think the Bruins are a bit scarier on paper right now than they are in reality, in large part because Sagan, who was so good the last couple of years in the playoffs, has done nothing in the playoffs. Have you noticed that? He's got like 1 goal in 12 games, and that was a guy that, if you had told me before this season that we were going to play the Bruins in the playoffs, one guy that would have really scared me. And he hasn't been effective.
I think we picked him on our Rinketology team.
Well, that was a mistake.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of mistakes on that team. I think starting with picking Fleury as our starting goal.
I forgot about that. Oops.
Yeah, that's not working out so well for us.
I forgot.
But I don't know. Does Sagan not scoring, does that cut for or against the Penguins? Like, isn't there an argument to be made that he's a due?
I guess.
I'm more scared of. I'm more worried about the fact that Sagan hasn't scored in 12 games than I am about this guy Tony Krug, who's scored like 4 times in the past 5 games.
Did you just call him Tony Krug?
What is it? Tory.
He's officially Tony as far as we're concerned.
Yeah, Tony
going forward.
Krug. Whatever. Same thing.
The guy's played like 4 games.
Yeah, but how long is he going to keep this up? Especially after a week off. I mean, doesn't he cool off after a week?
Yeah, hang on. I got to send this boy to bed. All right, time for bed, bud. Okay? All right. Sleep well, okay? Say goodnight to GTOG Nation. Who is that? It's bigger than you know. It's bigger than you know. It's an enormous number of people. Go to sleep.
While he heads up, tell him.
Good night.
Tell him to tell mommy to listen to the Bachelorette podcast.
Do me a favor. Go tell mommy to listen to the Bachelorette podcast, and then go to sleep. Okay. Good night, bud. Ooh, big save there in the Wings game.
Yeah, it's on. I have it on in the background on mute.
So, what do you think about the Tortorella firing?
He deserves it. I mean, I think he's not the biggest problem that they have. And if they're not going to get rid of Glenn Sather, then they got to get rid of the coach. Because there's no coach who's better at getting less out of great players than Tortorella. And this doesn't speak to his time in Tampa because he won a cup and he was fine there. But the past 4 years, he just suffocates his own best players.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't really make sense given his history. I mean, if anything, in Tampa, the opposite was true, right? I mean, that was a really star-driven team.
Right. Richard, St. Louis, LeCavalier.
Yeah.
Very good team.
I don't understand what changed.
I don't know either, but it's whatever strategy he's been trying to employ with the Rangers. I mean, we talk about it all the time. That has to be the most boring team in the league or maybe not most boring, but most frustrating team to follow, to watch every Rangers game. It has to be horrible. I mean, they don't score any goals. And they just go through it's like they're just diving and blocking shots, and they don't get a lot of offense. And I guess like their numbers of puck possession are pretty good, but they don't. I mean, they don't score. They don't score. They're just boring. They want to win. They want to win the Stanley Cup under Tortorella by going 16-12 and winning every series in 7 games by 1 goal.
Yeah, and I don't think it's because they don't have good players. I think Stepan has been really impressive, and Derek Brassard was really good when he came over from Columbus. Nash, obviously, and they have a really good defense when Stahl is healthy, particularly. They have good defensemen.
Yeah, so I
don't think they're far away.
But the whole is less than the sum of the parts, and that's got to fall on the coach. Like, they don't score any goals; they score 1 or 2 goals a game. And if Lundqvist isn't good, they lose.
I hope he goes to NBC, Tortorella.
Yeah,
because I would just love to see the interplay between him and Pierre Maguire.
My whole problem that I've had generally with Tortorella is that you don't have to glad hand the media, and I'm not in the media, so I don't really care if he treats them like crap. It's not me. But I just watch a guy go through life that grumpy and that upset all the time, and it's like, dude, you're the coach of the New York Rangers. Do you know how awesome that is? Do you know how great of a thing that is? And to just be so unhappy all the time, it's just like, what are you doing, man? You know, lighten up.
He's ridiculous.
Just lighten up. That's it. I'm not saying you have to like the media, but just lighten up. Don't be a dick.
Yeah, I mean, I find it entertaining that he's such a jerk, but I completely agree.
Yeah, it's entertaining to me too, because I don't really care. I don't particularly like the Rangers, but it's just you see a guy go, a 55-year-old grown man go through life this surly, and you just wonder.
He's an asshole. Well, although I tweeted about this the other day. I drove to the airport with this guy that apparently drives a bunch of coaches to and from games. And he said he went out of his way to mention Tortorella as the friendliest, nicest coach.
That doesn't surprise me that much. It's just so he's nice in his real life, but in this great job that 30 people have at any one time in the entire earth.
Right, he's really mean to everyone who covers it.
Yeah, like it doesn't seem like he has any appreciation for how. Not necessarily to sell the game, but just how not to ruin the game and how to have some appreciation for your station in life. And he's earned it, and he can do whatever he wants with it. But he should just be a little bit more aware of the way that he's coming across to people who support the game and that's why he'll never be the U.S. Olympic coach. You can't put that guy in front of the international media. He'd just be terrible.
And on second thought, maybe he shouldn't be on NBC. Forget that idea.
Yeah. Well, let's
go. What do you think?
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to ask you what you think about the other series right now. And, not that we're looking past Boston, but I think we can talk about it. Just who's the scariest team out there right now in the West?
The Kings, to me, present the worst matchup of any of the teams left for the Penguins. Because as much as they're a defensive team, and they just won the series against the Sharks, they scored a total of 14 goals. The Penguins scored 13 in 2 games against Ottawa. So they don't score a lot, but I just feel like they have a lot of really good talent. And if the Penguins were fortunate enough to get to the finals and play the Kings, I think that that offense could kind of wake up against the Penguins, because the Penguins would really have to try harder than usual to score on the Kings. And that would mean pinching a little bit more and the forwards getting in deeper and not being as aware defensively. And so that to me is a nightmare matchup. And their goalies, they have the best goalie, so.
Right. I think that the Kings are definitely the worst matchup for the Penguins because, first and foremost, Quick has the potential to be the best player in any series. Doesn't matter if he's playing the Penguins, he could still be the best player. And that's the Penguins' worst nightmare, and something that you and I have talked about is not fun to watch. You don't want the best player to be the goalie, particularly when the best player is the goalie who's playing the Penguins. But beyond that, I think they've got obvious talent on that team, but more to the point, they have playoff talent like Dustin Brown and Justin Williams, guys that always elevate their game in the playoff, and that's also scary.
Right, and if you don't think that Mike Richards and Jeff Carter would wake up offensively against the Penguins, then you just haven't been watching them against the Penguins over the years.
Yeah, and we're used to Jeff Carter and Mike Richards being the best player on their team when we play them, and they're like, second tier on the Kings. It's a good team.
There's been a lot of talk recently about how the 5 remaining teams, and it'll be 4 after tonight, but either way, the point still stands, that the 5 remaining teams right now are the last 5 Cup winners. And there's been some kind of like sarcastic ribbing of the NHL, and Jesse Spector of the Sporting News is one of the guys that was doing it. And I'll post the tweet of what he said, but it's basically like kind of mocking the NHL's attempt at competitive balance because the past 5 Stanley Cup winners are the 5 remaining teams. But do you see that as a problem, or is this a good thing, or just
do I see it as?
Yeah, like
do I see it as a problem that some organizations are better than others? I mean, that's just. I mean, do you want to live in a meritocracy, or are we going to have a communist league where?
You just rotate the trophy every year.
I mean. What do you want to happen? What's your plan? I mean, do you have a better idea? I mean, football is the perfect example of a parity-driven league, and there are still organizations in football that elevate above the rest. I mean, how could that not happen? Right. All GMs and owners and coaches are not created equal.
Right. It's equal opportunity, not equal results, and so it's not really the haves and have-nots anymore. It's the smarts and not smarts. And
yes,
if you have a team that's really smart and does things the right way, then even under a salary cap system, they can thrive. Look at the Patriots. Look at the Penguins. Look at the Blackhawks and the Bruins and stuff. Like, to me, it's not a problem. It's like everybody's on a level playing field. And that's the difference between hockey and baseball. You look at baseball and they're really not on this level playing field. When one team can spend $60 million and the other one $210, it's not about who's smarter. It's about, can you just pay for your mistake? You make a mistake, you just buy your way out of it. So I think it's a good thing. I think it's great. I think these 5 teams are the model franchises right now. They're doing things the right way. They're not cheating the system. They're not gaming the system. They have smart GMs, great coaches, and great players.
Yeah, Calgary, if you want to try to engineer a trade of Jay Feaster for Ray Shiro, you're welcome to do that. I don't think it's going to work out for you. I don't think you could pull that off, but you want to be better, get better people.
Right. And if you want better players, yes, there's luck involved. There's luck that the Penguins, got the number 1 pick when Crosby was the number 1 guy, but there's luck in real life. I mean, it's lucky that LeBron James was born 6'8", 270. Like, that's lucky. Yeah. But it's not like he was given a better chance to be in the NBA than I was. It's just that he was born, with a slightly bigger vertical leap than I had.
How many top 5 draft picks have the Detroit Red Wings ever had? Since Steve Yzerman, have they ever had a top 5 draft choice?
Right. They do things smartly. So to me,
this is the right way.
Yeah, this is validation. This is like the other teams should be studying what's happened with these teams to figure out how to get here. I don't think this is a problem at all. I think this is a great thing.
Right. If you think you're a victim, you're probably the Washington Capitals.
Yeah, very much. Back to the Penguins-Bruins. Who scares you the most on Boston?
David Krejci.
Just because he's the best player?
Yeah, he's definitely the best player. Marchand actually scares me. He has a knack for scoring big goals.
I know there's a player on Boston who you've always loved, and you thought it was highway robbery when they got him in the trade. And I know you're scared of him.
You talking about Nathan Horton?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's that good. I did think it was a very favorable deal that they made to get him, and I thought at the time that he was exactly the kind of player the Penguins needed. I'm not particularly scared of him, though, in the grand scheme of things. I think they've got a solid lineup up and down the roster. They got good players, but the difference is I think our good players are better than their good players.
Right, and that's why I think if the Penguins get any contribution, really, offensively from the bottom six, the Penguins will win the series. If the Penguins win the bottom six matchup, third line against third line, fourth line against fourth line, I don't see really any way the Penguins lose as long as Crosby and Malkin maintain anything close to their current level.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that. I think that the Bruins have gotten a lot of attention for the play of their fourth line in these playoffs. It's Gregory Campbell, that guy Paille, and Sean Thornton. It's pretty good fourth line.
Yeah, it is. But the Penguins have a good fourth line, too. I mean, I don't think that they come in with a decided advantage on the fourth line. It's not like – who was that scrub that the Rangers kept throwing out to go try to start fights with everybody on Boston's fourth line? I don't know. Like, I never really heard of him before the
Dorset. Was it Dorset?
Yeah.
Derek Dorset?
Yeah. The Pens aren't throwing out guys like that. I mean, our fourth line is going to be Jokinen, Morrow, and Craig Adams. Craig Adams has won 2 Stanley Cups. Morrow's been around forever. And Jokinen's playing at a pretty high level and is a great face-off guy who's been in the playoffs a ton in his career.
Yeah, we're going to neutralize those guys.
Yeah, I think it'll be a wash. Our fourth line is nothing to sleep on.
What do you expect out of Jerome McGinley this series? I'm thinking about that last game. I think it was the last game we played against them when he fought Thornton.
He fought Nathan Horton. Nathan Horton.
What did I say? Thornton. Yeah, he fought Nathan Horton, and I think he scored the game-winning goal that game, right?
Yeah, it was going to be the game-winning goal, but I think that Sagan scored with 3 seconds left. It was 3-1.
Anyway, he had a great game.
Yeah.
This could bring out the best in him.
Yes, because he's had a great playoffs when you look at his numbers, but he doesn't have a lot of memorable moments. You know, there hasn't been a game when you're like, "Wow, Ginla's the best player on the ice." And he's not.
I don't think we can expect that. I mean, the guy's 35 years old, but I don't think he's had a signature playoff performance.
No, but he somehow has 12 points. So if he has 1 or 2 of those games where you're like, "Wow, look at Ginla, I didn't know he still had that in him," then that bodes pretty well for the Penguins. And I'm optimistic. I think he's going to really show up. I really do.
How much bitterness do you think there is in Boston? I mean, this is a long time ago now. It's 20-plus years. But people still talk about the Bruins-Penguins series from the early 90s, and people in Boston seem to think that were it not for Ulf Samuelson's hit on Cam Neely, that Boston would have had a dynasty, which is bizarre. But that seems to be what they think.
Right. Well, what they don't realize is that historically, Cam Neely was the 6th best player in that series. So
that's right. He was great. Now,
what
Cam
dynasty
Neely was great.
Yeah, but what dynasty were they starting? You know?
Right. No dynasty. Ray Bourque was at the peak of his powers. But,
but Mario was his kryptonite. Mario abused Ray Bourque.
Yeah, he just abused Ray Bourque. It was no contest.
Yeah, Ray Bourque was a traffic cone for Mario. It was like Mario was going to driving school and practicing parallel parking, and he would put When Mario moved to the United States to get his U.S. driver's license, I bet he put Ray Bork's face on the parking cones. When he went to Allison Park. Man. When he went out to Allison Park to take his driver's test, I guarantee you he made them put Ray Bork's face on the traffic cone.
I think you're right about that. I'll never forget where I was, what I felt when Lemieux scored that goal. I'm pretty sure it was shorthanded 1-on-2 against Oates and Bork, and just had Ray Bork so turned around. It was like he was doing a drill, dribbling the puck between Ray Bork's skates, and Bork was just so flustered, like he couldn't turn around. I mean, he was looking in the opposite direction the whole time and just hoping, I guess, that Lemieux didn't make it to the net, but he did, and he roofed it.
Right. Do you think that Ray Bork's career is sullied by the fact that he went to Colorado to win that cup?
No, not at all. Everybody was rooting for Ray Bork that year, myself included.
Really? Dave Damashek wasn't.
Yeah.
We had
Dave Damashek wasn't rooting for it. More power to me. What's that?
I think when he was on the podcast, he was talking about that. He has no respect for Ray Bork
going to Colorado. I don't care. I mean, are you not gonna have respect for Jerome McGinley if he wins the cup this year?
No, I'll have a lot of respect for Jerome McGinley, but I'm a hypocrite. So what do you want?
Yeah. Okay. As long as that's clear.
You want me to be consistent in my opinions? What are you asking of me? I don't get it.
No, I'm just glad we know where we stand.
We did a post today about Crosby and Bergeron. That matchup. Yeah. There's a lot of talk. Bergeron's a great player, very solid defensive player. Do you think that he will give Crosby problems?
Well, it depends on how you define problems. Is he going to win more face-offs than Crosby wins? Probably. It's generally acknowledged he's better at face-offs. I don't see that as being dispositive. I don't see it as having a major impact on the series. I think Julian split up Chara and Seidenberg today, so we're liable to see, I'm guessing Chara and Bergeron against Crosby. If you're going to load up like that against Crosby, I expect Malkin to just have an enormous series. This is the classic conundrum that teams face when Crosby and Malkin are going as well as they can go. You're just not going to be able to stop both of them. I don't think they'll be able to.
Do you think, though, that Chara is really a good matchup from Boston's perspective against Crosby? I feel like Crosby's always done really well against Chara. Crosby's small. It's very hard for Chara to pin him against the boards. And Crosby's greatest strength is turning out of stuff in the corners. So Chara is not, he's not a bad skater by any means, but he's not nearly as quick as Crosby in the corners. And it's almost like his size can work against him in that scenario.
Yeah, I agree with you. We'll see how it plays out, but it wouldn't surprise me if Crosby doesn't have a great series. It happens when a team that has really world-class players is absolutely focused on shutting one line down in the playoffs. It's not unheard of for that line to be shut down, no matter how good the player is. But it's much harder to do that to two lines of all-star players. So,
and don't forget the power play.
Pick your poison.
Don't forget the power play.
Right. Sid's going to get points. Not worried about that.
Yeah, he'll have at least a point a game. That I would bet pretty much anything on the fact that he'll have at least a point a game in this series. Which is
Do you have a prediction for this series?
Yeah, I'll get in the prediction business. I think Pens in 6. I think the Penguins are a better team. I think the Bruins are a very formidable, worthy opponent for the Penguins. I do think that there will be times during this series when we get into one of those full-fledged panics and we have very emotional, reactionary podcasts where we start saying how much we hate people on the Penguins like Sutter and Letang. But I think that the Penguins just have better players and more better players. And Crosby and Malkin are playing like the two best players in the league. And because they are. And so if the two best players in the league are playing like the two best players in the league, that team's going to win. So I think the Penguins are going to win.
What does it say about our mindset right now that we have not even mentioned the goaltending situation?
I was just
not
thinking
even a thought.
I know. I was just thinking that because I think Vokoun doesn't make you a liability in goal. He's not going to win the goaltending matchup. He's not going to be like Lundqvist or Quick, where you're saying, "Wow, Vokoun's going to steal 3 games for us." I mean,
Right.
the LA does not win that series against San Jose if they don't have Jonathan Quick. He won that series for them. They gave up 10 goals. They gave up 10 goals in 7 games.
He's a different breed, John Quick, yeah.
But if Vokoun just makes saves within like the 2-3 minutes after the Penguins score their 2 goals in 50 seconds that they do seemingly every game, then the Penguins are going to be fine. And I don't worry that much about the goaltending. And it's not like Rask scares me either. I mean, he's a nice goalie, but he's not. So was Craig Anderson. So.
Oh, wow, the Wings just scored.
Nice. I want this game.
1-1 early in the third.
Who do you want to win this game?
Our history with the Wings, I hate the Wings. I mean, I just can't root for the Wings. I got to go with Chicago.
Really?
What about you?
I would love to see Penguins Wings round 3. I'm rooting for the Wings.
That wouldn't be bad, but they're not going to get past. I don't see them getting past LA. I think LA is going to the finals again.
Is that Zetterberg? I think that's Zetterberg who scored.
Yeah, wide open net. What a pass. Who was that?
It looked like Franzen maybe. I actually wrote this down when I was writing down what to talk about tonight, and I wrote down about Crosby and Bergeron. I think that Zetterberg is the one player who has really matched up evenly, if not gotten the best of Crosby in head-to-head matchups. Maybe, I mean, Giroux sort of last year, but it's not like Crosby was shut down offensively. You know, Giroux just went crazy against a team that was melting down. But Zetterberg...
a lot of time has passed, though. A lot of time has passed since that Zetterberg matchup. 5 years? 4 years?
Yeah. But I just think he's the gold standard for playing against Crosby, in my mind.
I agree with that. Well, I don't know if we're going to see the Wings. We'll see. Here's Datsuk. Ooh. All right, let's watch the rest of this game. Let's wrap this up.
Yes. What's your prediction? You didn't go on the record. You got to go on the record.
Well, I didn't because I feel like it's kind of lame to agree with you, but I agree completely. I think Penguins in 6.
But you realize if it's Penguins in 6, we're going to just be so terrified of that game 6 because it's going into Boston, and if the Pens lose that game, they come back to console in an elimination game.
True. Well, and it's also back-to-back games 6 and 7.
Don't even get me started on this stupid schedule. Like, if Chicago wins this game, we're waiting 8 days, and then the Western Conference is going to play games 1 and 2 back-to-back if Chicago wins.
That's
ridiculous.
Outrageous.
It's just
ridiculous.
It's
just outrageous. All right, well, it's going to be a fun series any way you cut it, and we'll have a tail of the tape coming later this week. Hopefully an epic tail of the tape if we can carve out some time to do that. And I just got an extension on something I was working on, so I think I will. Good times ahead.
Good.
All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time, GTOG.